So we are finally going to read Brave Irene. It's been snowing and icy rain in Richmond, Virginia, where I live. We've had some crazy weather, and I thought this book fit. I actually filmed an introduction to it, which will be in the front of this, where it was snowing. I thought about reading it out in the snow, but it's kind of chilly. I have a confession. I showed this to my class this morning, and one of the little girls in my class also thought this was a sled. When I first looked at it, I thought it was a sled. The title is Brave Irene, so I'm assuming that this is probably Irene, and she's probably brave because she's walking through a lot of snow. When you have a big snowstorm, it's often called a blizzard. She's got a box, so I want you to think for a minute, what could be in the box? I also thought this story was in the present day, but when you look at it, you will be able to tell from the pictures and from the story words, it is from the past. So here we go, Brave Irene. I know it has something to do with a box and a snowstorm. That's all I knew. This is a dress form. If you like to sew or you like old-fashioned things, you would use this to sew a dress, to make your measurements. Now we know there's going to be some sewing in the story because I see pins and a needle and thread. Now, only grown-ups should put pins in their mouth. Don't do that. And when I saw this dress, it made me think of one of my favorite things. I like pink and I like Barbie. I have this Barbie here. She's been well loved. Not sure why she has a blue spot. But this dress made me think of Barbie. So she's going to sit here and listen to us read. She'll be in my lap. Mrs. Bobbin, the dressmaker, was tired and had a bad headache, but she still managed to sew the last stitches on the gown she was making. "It's the most beautiful dress in the world," said her daughter, Irene. "The Duchess will love it." "It is nice," her mother admitted, "but Dumpling, it's for tonight's ball, and I don't have enough strength to bring it to her. I feel sick." So now I can tell from this that from their clothes that it's in the past, and also this is their heater over here. Some people do still use a wood stove, but that's a lot of people in the past use that to heat and to cook. She doesn't have the strength to take it. Oh, poor Mama, said Irene. "I can get it there." "No, Cupcake, I can't let you," said Mrs. Bobbin. "Such a huge package, and it's a long way to the palace. Besides, it's starting to snow." "But I love snow," Irene insisted. She coaxed her mother into bed, covered her with 2 quilts, and added a blanket for her feet. Then she fixed her some tea with lemon and honey and put more wood in the stove. Oh, lemon and honey is really good for a sore throat, even in the present. With great care, Irene took the splendid gown down from the dummy and placed it in a big box with plenty of tissue paper. "Dress warmly, Pudding," her mother called in a weak voice. "And don't forget to button up. It's cold out there and windy." Irene put on her fleece-lined boots, her red hat and muffler, her heavy coat, and her mittens. She kissed her mother's hot forehead 6 times, then once again made sure she was tucked in snugly and slipped out with the big box, shutting the door firmly behind her. Wow, Irene is quite mature. It doesn't tell us her age, but her mom thinks she's too young to deliver it, and we can tell she looks kind of short, but she's really good at taking care of her mom. So now we know what's in the box that I thought was a sled originally. It's the dress. Here goes Irene. She's bundled up. She's out in the snow. It really was cold outside, very cold, because it has to be 32 degrees Fahrenheit for snow to stick on the ground. So that's freezing. The wind whirled the falling snowflakes about this way and that way and into Irene's squinting face. She set out on the uphill path to Farmer Bennett's sheep pasture. By the time she got there, the snow was up to her ankles, and the wind was worse. It hurried her along and made her stumble. Irene resented this. The box was problem enough. "Easy does it," she cautioned the wind, leaning back against it. She's talking to the wind now. I sometimes talk to the weather too, when things aren't going my way. By the middle of the pasture, the flakes were falling thicker Now the wind drove Irene along so rudely she had to hop, skip, and go helter-skeltering over the knobby ground. Cold snow sifted into her boots and chilled her feet. She pushed out her lip and hurried on. This was an important errand. She pushed out her lip. Sometimes that's called pouting, but sometimes when you're stubborn, put your stubborn face on to get through it. When she reached Apple Road, the wind decided to put on a show. It ripped branches from trees and flung them about, swept up and scattered the fallen snow, got in front of Irene to keep her from moving ahead. Irene turned around and pressed on backwards. Oh my goodness, she's walking backwards because the wind is so strong. She's pushing against it. And there's a word for this when you make personification, when you make things that aren't alive seem real, like the wind and the weather pushing her around. That's my big English word of the day. Go home, the wind squalled. Irene, go home. I will do no such thing, she snapped. No such thing, you wicked wind. Go home, the wind yodeled. Go home, whoa, 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 whoa. It shrieked, or else. For a short second, Irene wondered if she shouldn't heed the wind's warning. But no, this gown had to get to the Duchess. The wind wrestled her for the package, walloped it, twisted it, shook it, snatched at it, but Irene wouldn't yield. It's my mother's work, she screamed. Then, oh, woe, the box was wrenched from her mittened grasp and sent bumbling along in the snow. Irene went after it. So now she's fighting with the wind, which is really personification, and it's talking to her. The wind doesn't really talk, but sometimes when it howls through things, it seems to. But she is determined. She pounced and took hold, but the ill-tempered wind ripped the box open. The ball gown flounced out and went waltzing through the powdered air with tissue paper attendants. Oh my goodness. Irene clung to the empty box and watched the beautiful gown disappear. Oh, no, it looks like a pink cloud. It's floating away with the tissue paper. Oh, how could anything so terribly wrong be allowed to happen? Tears froze on her lashes. Her dear mother's hard work and all those days of measuring, cutting, pinning, stitching for this. And the poor Duchess. Irene decided she would have to trudge on with just the box and explain everything in person. Wow, that's really brave. Not only is she going through a blizzard, but the gown is gone and she's going to go tell the Duchess what really happened. That is brave. She went shuffling through the snow. Would her mother understand? She wondered that it was the wind's fault, not hers. Would the Duchess be angry? The wind was howling like a wild animal. Suddenly, Irene stepped in a hole and fell over with a twisted ankle. She blamed it on the wind. Keep quiet, she scolded. You've done enough damage already. You've spoiled everything, everything. The wind swallowed up her words. She sat in the snow in great pain, afraid she wouldn't be able to go on. But she managed to get to her feet and start moving. It hurt. Home, where she longed to be, where her mother and she could be warm together, was far behind. It's got to be closer to the palace, she thought. But where any place was in all this snow, she couldn't be sure. Now, the only good thing about having a twisted ankle in the snow is you're supposed to put ice on it. So she's got plenty of that. Maybe that cold that's in her boots will keep her ankle from swelling too much. She plowed on, dragging furrows with her sore foot. The short winter day was almost done. Am I still going the right way, she wondered. There was no one around to advise her. Whoever else there was in this snow-covered world was far, far away and safe indoors, even the animals in their burrows. She went plodding on. Soon night took over. I would be a little scared because I don't like nighttime, even in the snow. She knew in the dark that the muffled snow was still falling. She could feel it. She was cold and alone in the middle of nowhere. Irene was lost. She had to keep moving. She was hoping she'd come to a house, any house at all, and be taken in. She badly needed to be in someone's arms. The snow was above her knees now. She shoved her way through it, clutching the empty box. If you are worried, I just want you to know, I think it's going to have a happy ending. I kind of skipped ahead. I don't want to give away the story, but I don't want you to be worried about Irene. She's hurt. She's lost. It's snowing. It's nighttime. Don't worry. She was asking how long a small person could keep this struggle up when she realized it was getting lighter. There was a soft glow coming from somewhere below her. There's the soft glow. Oh. She waded toward this glow and soon was gazing down a long slope at a brightly lit mansion. It had to be the palace. Palace and mansion are kind of synonyms for a very big house. A very big fancy house. Irene pushed forward with all her strength and swoosh, thwomp, she plunged downward and was buried. Oh, poor Irene. She had fallen over off a little cliff. Only her hat and the box in her hand stuck above the snow. Oh, it just keeps getting worse. Even if she could call for help, no one would hear her. Her body shook. Her teeth chattered. Why not freeze to death, she thought, and let all these troubles end? Why not? She was already buried. She's really sad. This is what happens. That might even be despair. Despair is when you just think all hope is lost. I mean, she fell. Her ankle hurt. She lost the dress. It's snowing. She was lost. She fell off a cliff. Could it get any worse? Don't ever ask that. And never see her mother's face again? Her good mother who smelled like fresh baked bread? In an explosion of fury, she flung her body about to free herself and was finally able to climb up on her knees and look around. How to get down to that glittering palace? As soon as she raised the question, she had the answer. Problem and solution. Every good story has one. She laid the box down and climbed aboard. But it pressed into the snow and stuck. She tried again. This time, instead of climbing on, she leaped. The box shot forward. Oh, like a sled. It is like a sled. That's cool. The wind raced after Irene, but couldn't keep up. In a moment, she would be with people again. Inside, where it was warm, the sled slowed and jerked to a stop on paving stones. The time had come to break the bad news to the Duchess. With the empty box clasped to her chest, that means she held it, Irene strode nervously toward the palace. But then, dun, 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 her feet stopped moving and her mouth fell open. She stared. Maybe this was impossible. Yet there it was, a little way off and over to the right, hugging the trunk of a tree, the beautiful ball gown. The wind was holding it there. Mama, Irene shouted. Mama, I found it. Now, her mom can't really hear her, but she's excited and relieved. She managed somehow, despite the wind's meddling, to get the gown off the tree and back in the box. And in another moment, she was at the door of the palace. She knocked twice with the big brass knocker. The door opened and she burst in. Oh, maybe there will be a happy ending. She found the dress. She found the palace. All could be saved. Oh, look, and there's a party greeting her. She was welcomed by cheering servants and a delirious duchess. They couldn't believe she had come over the mountain in such a storm, all by herself. She had to tell the whole story, every detail, and she did. Then she'd be asked to be taken right back to her sick mother, but it was out of the question, they said. The road that ran around the mountain wouldn't be cleared until morning. Don't fret, child, said the Duchess. Your mother is surely sleeping now. We'll get you there first thing tomorrow. Irene was given a good dinner as she sat by the fire. The moisture steamed off her clothes. The Duchess, meanwhile, got into her freshly ironed gown before the guests began arriving in their sleighs. Oh, it's like the song Jingle Bells, where they came over in a horse-drawn sleigh. What a wonderful ball it was. The Duchess in her new gown was like a bright star in the sky. Irene in her ordinary dress was radiant. She was swept up into dances by handsome aristocrats who kept her feet off the floor to spare her ankle. Aw, her mother would enjoy hearing all about it. That was nice. They let Irene come to the party and dance. Oh, wait. Barbie wants just one little spin. Oh, save a dance for me. Okay, sorry. Barbie can't help it. She was all dressed up. She needed a ball gown. Early the next morning, when snow had long since ceased falling, Mrs. Bobbin woke from a good night's sleep feeling much improved. She hurried about and got a fire going in the cold stove. Then she went to look in on Irene. Oh, but Irene's bed was empty. She ran to the window and gazed at the white landscape. No one was out there. Snow powder fell from the branch of a tree. Oh, and she knows how deep the snow was. "Where is my child?" Mrs. Bobbin cried. She whipped on her coat to go out and find her. When she pulled open the door, a wall of drift faced her. But peering over it, she could see a horse-drawn sleigh hastening up the path. And seated on the sleigh between two large footmen was Irene herself, asleep but smiling. Would you like to hear the rest? Look at that. She got to go home in a sleigh. Well, there was a bearded doctor in the back of the sleigh, and the Duchess had sent Irene's mother a ginger cake with white icing, some oranges and a pineapple and spice candy of many flavors, along with a note saying how much she cherished the gown and what a brave and loving person Irene was, which of course Mrs. Bobbin knew better than the Duchess. Aw, it does have a happy ending. That is super great. So brave Irene went through the blizzard, and this book has a lot of good vocabulary in it. So if you go back and look up things like moisture and fret and ceased and hastening, handsome, aristocrats, lots of good words. Cheering, cleared. Let's see, I'm going backwards through it. Meddling, the wind's meddling. There's lots of good words, and you might have to Google some of them or ask a grown-up to tell you what they mean. But this has awesome vocabulary and brave Irene. Barbie, did you enjoy that? Why, yes. Yes, I did. So I was wearing my pink and white and my necklace and earrings with my hair up to pretend like I was at the ball with the Duchess, because like I said, I had peeked ahead to see the end of the story. I really hope you enjoyed it. It was a long book. You may have to take breaks. You may want to listen again. But wow, brave Irene, what a story. Thank you for learning with Miss Roseberry. See you next time.